So the introduction of Bucky Barnes the Winter Soldier in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a pretty big thing, not necessarily because of Bucky Barnes being the Winter Soldier, but because of the ramifications that this could have, especially when you look further down the line with the roles that the Winter Soldier plays with regards to the Marvel Universe. This is really an ominous thing, and it's ominous more so for Captain America than it is for anybody else in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So before we get too far into this backstory, I do want to say that this portion of the video may contain spoilers, so proceed at your own risk. So Bucky Barnes first appears alongside Captain America in Captain America Comics issue number 1 in 1941, and like Captain America, Bucky Barnes is a creation of Joe Simon and Jack Kirby and is designed to be a propaganda piece, but where Captain America is a propaganda piece that's really geared towards adults, Bucky Barnes is geared towards children, and is designed to spur support for World War II among children who in turn will influence their parents. Bucky Barnes remains a mainstay in Captain America Comics until issue number 66, and what I'd like you guys to take particular note of is that over the course of these 66 issues, where Bucky Barnes and Captain America initially start off fighting Nazis, Nazi creations, Nazi soldiers, and Adolf Hitler, there comes a point where they transition to fighting crime here in the United States. And this is something that I'd like to keep in the back of your head, because this will become important later on when we learn about the backstory of both Bucky Barnes and Captain America. With issue number 66 of the Captain America comics, Bucky Barnes is severely injured by a gunshot and is replaced by Captain America's girlfriend Betsy Ross, who undertakes the mantle of the Golden Girl. Now, Bucky Barnes eventually returns in Captain America comics issues numbers 76, 77, and 78, although he and Captain America are now communist fighters, and this is during the dawn of the Cold War era. Now, after issue number 78, the Captain America comics are canceled, and we do not see Bucky Barnes reappear outside of a flashback capacity until 2004 or 2005. Now, when I say a flashback capacity, what I mean is that there are a few times that Bucky Barnes reappears. The most notable is during the Avengers issue number 4, which was released in 1964. And at this time, Jack Kirby and Stan Lee are at the helm with regards to writing and creating characters in Marvel Comics. When Captain America is rediscovered in the Avengers issue number 4, we get the backstory about what happened with regards to Captain America after his disappearance after World War II. And what we learn is that Captain America and Bucky Barnes were attempting to stop a drone plane that had been used by a villain named Baron Zemo for his own ends. At the protests of Captain America, Bucky Barnes boards the drone plane, but the drone plane explodes very soon after, and Bucky Barnes is presumed to have been dead. Now, there are other instances where Bucky Barnes reappears in flashbacks, but these are not considered to be official due to the backstory that was given to us by Ed Brubaker in 2004, 2005, and especially with the release of Bucky Barnes' life story in 2011, I believe. Bucky Barnes reappears for the most part in Captain America Volume 5, Issue number 1, and this starts a storyline called Out of Time. And at the beginning of this storyline, the villain, Red Skull, is meeting with an individual named Alexander Lukin, who is a former KGB general who has fallen out of favor, or at the very least has become disillusioned with the Russian government after the fall of the Soviet Empire. And Alexander Lukin is selling various arms and armament to the Red Skull. And over the course of their meeting, the Red Skull comes across a stasis tank of sorts that is housing an individual. Now, this individual seems to be of significance to the Red Skull, but we don't know why. And the Red Skull offers to purchase this individual. Alexander Lukin indicates that he will give the individual to the Red Skull, but only under the condition that the Red Skull is willing to trade the Cosmic Cube. At this point, the Red Skull does not have the Cosmic Cube, but the Red Skull states that even if he did, he would not trade it for this individual because the Cosmic Cube possesses abilities that would transcend anything this individual is capable of. 5 years after the meeting, the Red Skull is in possession of the Cosmic Cube, and after a short phone call with Alexander Lukin, is promptly assassinated. At this point, an unknown assailant takes the Cosmic Cube from the dead grip of the Red Skull, and has a conversation with Alexander Lukin indicating that he is operating under the orders of Alexander Lukin, and takes the Cosmic Cube back to Alexander Lukin. From this point moving forward, the comic turns into a sort of whodunit mystery, and Captain America, in addition to the niece of Peggy Carter, Sharon Carter, and Nick Fury, sort of go on this quest to find out, one, who this individual is, and two, why there are several bombs that have been planted at different locations throughout Philadelphia. Because at this point, there have been several times in which these bombs have been located and disarmed. Ultimately, we find out that the purpose of these bombs is to use their destruction to empower the Cosmic Cube for whatever end its possessor chooses to use it for. And in issue number 6, we get a full-on view of Bucky Barnes. Now, it's important to note that this is a very pivotal panel in comic books, because this indicates the very first time that we will see Bucky Barnes return to comic books outside of a flashback capacity since 1948, which was the last issue of the Captain America comics, with issue number 78, I believe. Bucky Barnes is revealed to be the Winter Soldier, and prior to this, we had learned some backstory. We had learned some information from both Nick Fury and the questionable memories of Captain America. From Nick Fury, we learn that after World War II and towards the beginning of the Cold War, the Russians had been using an individual known only as the Winter Soldier, and the Winter Soldier was considered to be a myth by most because no one had really ever seen him before. And Nick Fury has in his possession a total of about 10 photos, basically. And these photos are not necessarily concrete, but they lead him to believe that it is Bucky Barnes. The information that we get is that this Winter Soldier had operated on behalf of the Russian government to implement a series of assassinations, campaigns, and whatnot to further the goals of the Russian government during the Cold War. And what happens is that the government will freeze. They will put Bucky Barnes in a state of suspended animation and only release him when he's needed for a particular goal. When the goal is complete, he will be refrozen again. And this is the reason why, over the course of 50 years or so, Bucky Barnes has only aged about 10 years roughly. What we also learn from Captain America's memories are a series of events, and we learn through the stories that are being told that Bucky Barnes was not necessarily what we were led to believe. In the early versions, in the flashback of Captain America's history in the Avengers issue number 4 from 1964, we learn that Bucky Barnes became the sidekick because he had stumbled into the tent where Steve Rogers was changing into his Captain America uniform, and agreed to keep Captain America's secret, but only under the condition that Captain America took him on as a sidekick. This backstory was retconned, that is to say that it was altered by Ed Brubaker, and the new backstory was that Bucky Barnes was a child who had some anger issues, some violent issues. Of course, he was the son of a military official who had been killed in an accident on a military base. And as a result, he really kind of became the unofficial mascot for the military base. However, he engaged in some very seedy kind of actions. He would smuggle in things that people weren't supposed to have on military bases. He would constantly get into fights and skirmishes. And so he was sent overseas to train with the British SAS, among other military forces, to make him a very formidable soldier. The training lasted about 2 months, and Bucky Barnes returned and was made into the partner of Captain America. But where Bucky Barnes is initially perceived in the Captain America comics to be this sort of benign and good-natured sidekick, we learn that there is a much darker side to Bucky Barnes' role as the sidekick of Captain America, and that his role is to do the things that Captain America can't, to assassinate, to infiltrate, to inflict harm on individuals to gain information where Captain America would not normally take this role. Over the course of the remainder of the Out of Time comics and the Winter Soldier books, we learn that Captain America eventually comes across the Cosmic Cube, and with the assistance of the Cosmic Cube, Bucky Barnes' memories are restored. Eventually, Bucky Barnes succumbs to the depression and to the overwhelming guilt of his previous actions and kind of goes into hiding, but eventually returns later on to take on the mantle of Captain America once Captain America is killed by assassination. Over the course of these comics, we also learn the actual backstory behind how it was that Bucky Barnes managed to survive and managed to become the Winter Soldier. And what we learn is that after the drone plane explosion, the body of Bucky Barnes had been recovered by the predecessor to Alexander Lukin, Vasily Karpov, and the body was taken back to Russia and Bucky Barnes was revived. Bucky Barnes was subjected to brainwashing, whereby his memories were altered or eliminated, and he was subjected to the Russian version of the Super Soldier program, where he was endowed with enhanced abilities, although not quite on par with Captain America. He was also subjected to a series of training regimens that enhanced his physical fighting and military weapons knowledge, which that in terms put him on par with Captain America, simply in terms of his abilities in hand-to-hand combat and various martial arts. Over the course of time, we begin to see the Winter Soldier being implemented as a weapon, as we previously explained, and thus leads him into becoming one of the most prominent foes of Captain America during the Winter Soldier storyline. So much like Captain America, Bucky Barnes does not have any superpowers per se, either as the sidekick of Captain America, nor as the Winter Soldier. But what he does have are a very formidable set of skills, and these are skills that he has developed over the course of his training with the British SAS and other military forces, in addition to his real-world combat experience fighting alongside Captain America in World War II. In addition to these combat skills that he has gained, he also has a set of formidable skills with regards to his training after being inducted into the Russian version of the Super Soldier program. This has also given him the ability to use his cybernetic arm for a multitude of various effects, which include firing electric bolts, creating EMPs, things of that nature. So ultimately, Bucky Barnes, for the most part, is on par with Captain America with his combat prowess and weapons knowledge, and may even be a little further ahead of him due to the advantage that is given to him by his cybernetic arm. So I am aware that there are currently spoilers out there in terms of the film review for Captain America the Winter Soldier, but I myself have not read any of these, and I intend to go into the movie fresh with no idea of what it is that's going to take place. And so this speculation may very well be entirely off. However, I'm going through this speculation having no idea what's going to take place in the film. Suffice it to say, I do not really know how it is that that Bucky Barnes' backstory is going to be explained in Captain America the Winter Soldier. Whether his backstory will be explained when he was a child, or whether they will focus simply on the events that took place after he had fallen out of the train into the icy terrain in Captain America the First Avenger. It may very well be that at this point he was discovered by Russians. We may or may not see Vasily Karpov. We may or may not see the Red Skull and Alexander Lukin. I don't really know at this point, but I do think that given the reviews of the film so far, given the popularity from those who have seen it and the rave reviews that it's received, I think it's going to be a fantastic film. And with Sebastian Stan returning at the helm to play the role of Bucky Barnes, I do think that as the Winter Soldier, he will be played adequately and fairly and reasonably on par with the Winter Soldier as we saw him in the Captain America Comics Volume 5. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.